You're listening to the Platform Launchers podcast. I'm John Stange, and it's great to have you with us this week. As always, I always look forward to this time where we get together and we talk about building and growing and monetizing your online platform. I try to direct you over to platformlaunchers.com each week to let you know about the resources we have over there that'll help you grow and monetize your online platform. You can take a look at our platform development planning guide. We also have a free test drive of our members club, all sorts of fun things you can find at platformlaunchers.com. But I have something extra special for us this week, and that is our guest expert. You've probably already seen if you looked at the title of this podcast, or if you are watching us via YouTube, that this week we have a guest expert. Her name is Phyllis Jenkins. Phyllis has been a member of the Platform Launchers membership club for quite a while here now, and she's been doing some amazing things. And Phyllis, you know this to be true, and I know this to be true, that so many of us here in Platform Launchers, we just think very, very highly of you. And when I was putting together the schedule for this year and thinking about different guest experts that we were going to have on, it dawned on me that there are so many things that we have asked you throughout the course of our time together that I thought the general listening audience needs to hear your voice. So welcome as our guest expert, Phyllis Jenkins. So glad to have you with us.
Thank you, John. It is an honor to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you with us. And I wonder, Phyllis, could you tell us just right off the bat, before we get into the details of what you've been building and how you've been building it, because we're going to talk about all that stuff, just give us an overview of yourself. Tell us who you are and some of the things that you get passionate about.
Well, I am a wife. We are about to celebrate 46 years of marriage. I married my college sweetheart, Dave Jenkins, yes, who introduces me as the sugar in his Kool-Aid. So I'm super excited about that. We have 2 adult daughters and 3 adorable grandchildren. I love to read, to travel, to bowl, to write, and very passionate about prayer. I've seen God answer so many prayers, and I was taught to pray early in my life, in my childhood. So, and I love people. I love friends, and so much so, John, that I have a friend from first grade that we still keep in touch with.
Is that right?
Yes, I value friendship very much.
That doesn't surprise me. And we've noticed that even here in our community, you know, just what a friend you've been to so many. And I wonder, your platform, you have multiple aspects to your platform. And so we're going to get into some of those details. But I wonder if, even before we get into the nitty-gritty of how you've set your platform up, what you're doing with it, I wondered if you could just tell us a little bit more about the development of your message. So what is the core message of your platform that leads you to the different ways that you deliver your content?
The core message for me is everyone has a story, and that story does not belong to you. Once God has brought you through something, then it's for you to go and tell and share someone with someone else who needs to hear it. They need to hear your lessons learned. They need to hear what God has done for you so that you can give them inspiration, hope, and encouragement. So that is my main message, is to help women mostly turn their life challenges into life-changing messages of hope, inspiration, and encouragement.
So what is that? That sounds wonderful. And I wonder, what does that typically look like when someone comes to you and they say, I have a story, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to express it. What kind of journey do you try and take people on?
First, they don't know which story to tell, because we all have lived different life experiences. So I have developed a blueprint that will help them to decide which story should they share first. We help to look at what they've gone through, the lessons that they have learned, and then the lessons that they can teach someone else. And then we look to see which story will bring the greatest impact, make the biggest difference in the lives of others. And that's their significant story.
I love that. So I imagine that when people come to you, they have certain misconceptions about their story and misconceptions about the different things that go into expressing it. How do you help people overcome those?
You're so right. They have misconceptions. Many people say, I don't have a story. Well, yes, you do. You do have a story. We just need some help pulling it out of you. Another misconception is nobody wants to hear my story. Well, yes, someone does want to hear your story. Someone needs to hear your story because everyone's story mirrors someone else's story. And that person who is still going through what you went through needs to hear how you got out of it. So, and then another is my story isn't dramatic enough
Mm.
because they hear stories that are so dramatic that it seems to drown theirs out. But every story matters.
So, well, even before I ask you something else, you just kind of reminded me of something. I remember, just a few years before my grandmother passed away, one of my sisters took the time to sit down with her, and she actually spent a lot of time sitting down with her and just took a lot of notes. So she had a good conversation with my grandmother for over the course of many hours. Maybe she even did it over many days. I can't even remember how she set it up time-wise, but she sat down with her and got a whole bunch of details and then wrote it all out and presented that to my grandmother at a birthday party. She lived, to a good advanced age, and that was presented to her there. And then we were all given copies of it, and it was so fun to be able to read through it. Even as you're talking right now, I think, I haven't picked that up in a while. I'd love to just reread my grandmother's story. But I wonder, when you and I were talking before we actually, got the podcast here started this week. One of the things that you had mentioned via email to me was just the fact that there are categories of stories that you think people should explore. And I wonder, what are some of the categories that you've seen when people want to tell their story? What are the categories? How do those things work out? If somebody's convinced they should tell their story, what sort of categories do you see?
Well, I'm going to start with what you just shared, a legacy story. What better way for us to read what our grandparents, our great grandparents have gone through than to read it from them, their own voice. I have a lady right now, Miss Ada, who is 84 years young, who is
84.
writing her book. And Miss Ada is leaving a legacy of words in her book. She has six children, 15 grandchildren, 18 great grandchildren,
Ooh.
and 9 great great grandchildren. And
Wow.
she is writing her story, which is so very powerful. And they will get to hear her story from her, not from someone else. So that's a category right there. Leaving a legacy of your words, your story, and then your personal story. Tell your personal story because again, if you don't tell it, someone else is going to tell it. And it's
Right.
better to come from you than from someone else. I often say, take your story to the stage, not to the grave. When we
Mm.
pass cemeteries, there are so many stories buried that could have helped someone else.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then for those of us who are business owners, entrepreneurs, even your career, you have a story to tell. And someone coming behind you needs to hear how you made it to where you are right now.
Mm.
So right away, we have the personal story, we have the career, the business, the entrepreneur story, and then the legacy stories.
Nice. I love that. So having those categories, I imagine, helps you immensely when you're trying to help people figure out what should this, if they're writing it down, if they're communicating it another way, you're trying to help people categorize it in such a way that they actually get this information out there.
Absolutely.
So now
Yes.
that easily leads us into platform type questions. And one of the things that I've been fascinated by as I've watched your platform develop is just how you take very decisive action. And you're somebody that follows through, you get things done. And so my question about this of all is what primary elements of an online platform do you have in place? What sort of things are there right now?
John, the way I serve my clients is we have the writer's journey, which is our community of entry level writers. From there, we have the Authors Academy. That's our advanced set of writers, group of writers who go on to publish their books. And then we have the annual Powerful Journey Women's Conference, where each of these authors take their stories to the stage and they launch their book sales at the conference. From there, we have our next steps. They need to know what do I do next? And so they jump into the Next Steps program, which helps them now to build a brand around their book, build a profitable brand, I should say, around their book and around their story. We also have weekly newsletters that go out to give strategies and tips of writing and storytelling. And then we have the YouTube channel where I host my podcast there, and these same women are coming over and telling their stories. Again, everything I do is to help them get their stories out. And then I do have one-on-one coaching.
Excellent. So that's quite a few different avenues that you're utilizing to be able to actually connect with people. How do most people find you?
Word of mouth. It has just served me well. And serving my clients well has helped them to serve me well by telling others. I do have some marketing strategies, but my number one has been word of mouth.
So different people you've helped then spread word about the fact that, yeah, I got help doing this from Phyllis.
Absolutely. And then at the conference, our live event, we open up the we open up the writer's journey for them to sign up. So they have sat there and they've heard these women tell their stories, and a few men tell their stories, and they are ready now to tell their stories and write their books. And so I get a list of people as well that join during the conference.
Wow, that's pretty neat. The what aspect of this do you get most excited about?
Oh my goodness. I get excited about all of it, but John, the writers community has turned into not just a place for writing skills and storytelling skills to be developed, but it has turned into a safe haven for these women now. We had one woman to share just recently that she has held her story in for 68 years.
Oh, wow.
And now she is stepping out of her comfort zone and she's sharing her story.
So this is the membership community that you host for writers. You're talking about here, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
okay, so some people that are listening to us right now, maybe they've developed their online platform to a certain degree, and maybe they're thinking about the membership model, or they're thinking about incorporating some form of a community into what they're doing online. I happen to be a very big fan of that model. I think that that's a wonderful way to, I often talk about the fact that that provides three main things. Information, right? A lot of times people join something like that because they're grateful that there's going to be some information that's shared. But what you end up discovering is as you connect with people, you also get inspiration. So there's information and then there's inspiration. But then the third thing, people tend to make a lot of progress in a community context because there's accountability. So you get the
Exactly.
information, the inspiration, and the accountability. When did you first start your membership community?
I started this a year ago, and the reason was I only had the Authors Academy, and I only would have open enrollment once a year,
Hmm.
but I would have a waiting list. of people to get into the Authors Academy. And it was like God said, open up another level so that these people who are on your waiting list can get into a community and start writing. Don't make them wait. And so I launched the writer's journey, and I got that idea from you, John, in one of our
Love it.
sessions that we had. Open up the writer's journey, and all those people that were on the waiting list started writing. And they're now, we meet every Monday night. Every other Monday night, we call it our writer sanctuary, where we come together and they are actually writing. And then we come back together. They read what they've written or they ask questions. But on those other Mondays, we have teaching times where we are teaching strategies and tips and giving resources.
I love that. So Monday evenings, so your group meets Monday evenings. You're helping people not only write their books, but you're bringing them together in community. How do you structure? So sometimes this is what my mind goes to when I hear about things like this. So platform launchers, you know how we have it structured. You've been a member for a long time. We have our weekly meetings, and then we have a vault of previous recordings. We have pieces of that we make public, and then other things are only for members. So Q&A, different things, our lunch and learns, those are things that are just for members. But then we have things like our interviews like this that we make public, and we're happy to share that publicly. What is just for the members? What do you share publicly? Do you keep a vault of recordings? How do you structure some of those details?
We do. For our members, we have a Facebook group that is just for them. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, those are touch points for us. We have announcements on Mondays. Wednesdays, it's let us know how are you doing. And then Friday, we celebrate wins, whether they're big or small. We are celebrating each other. And you mentioned accountability a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
These women are being held accountable, and some of them are partnering up to hold each other accountable and to work together before we get together again. So accountability is a big part of it.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Do you enjoy leading a membership community?
I do. I do. I enjoy it because I see what God is doing through these women and the stories that are being told. I see them blossoming and flourishing. We have one lady just this past week who shared that she was a part of her mother passed when she was 4, John, and she went from foster home to foster home to foster home. And she finally shared the experience of one of the foster homes where they were sent to the basement with no food. And she finally shared it with a teacher at school, and they were removed from that home. But as she shared it through tears, and everyone in that community just rallied around her. And we had a new lady that joined just this past week, and I want to share what she sent. The next day, she sent me an email, and it said, "It was a pleasure and blessing to be a part of the Women's Fellowship on Monday." I love that she saw it as a fellowship already. She said, "There is some true anointing there. I am embarking on a whole new journey. I am looking forward to officially becoming a member of the group, even though I already feel at home." So she joined with our 14-day free trial, and that's what she's referring to. She went on to say the warm welcomes were such an inspiration. For some time now, I have felt I had a story. It was not until yesterday when I put the first words on paper that I came to discover what I was going to write about and how I would begin. The words have been in my head and the weight on my heart. That was when it was clear to me that I have a need to heal with each word. I feel a weight being lifted. John, that's
Wow.
why I do what I do.
Oh, I love that. That had to be so encouraging.
Very much so.
One of the things that I tell people if they're considering developing any sort of a membership is understand that if you facilitate a membership, if you develop a community, be prepared to lead. It's a leadership role. It's not just a content dissemination role or something like that. It's a leadership role. And it sounds like that's something that you've really embraced.
We have indeed. And it has just been amazing how God has moved in the lives of these women. And they call themselves, John, sister authors. I think I'm going to trademark that because
Sister
they
authors.
sister authors is what they call each other. And they're just cheering each other on. And I just love that.
Excellent. Very good. Now you also host a live event, and if somebody's listening right now and they're thinking that at some point they would like to add live events to their platform, what counsel would you give them if that's something they're going to approach? Tell them how you do it and what you've learned about doing it.
The first counsel I would give is to make sure that you are consistent. I had a lady come up to me probably within my third year of having a live event. And she said to me, Phyllis, you are so consistent with this. So make sure that you are consistent. The second thing is know your why, know the why, the reason that you are having the live event. And then build a team that sees your vision, believes in your vision. John, the team that I have, my core team, the majority of them have gone through my programs. And so they are so familiar with what we do and what we believe. And so much so that when we're meeting, they are saying our. And I love that
Mm,
because they are now a part of it. And so again, knowing your why, building a very strong team, because there is no way I could do this alone.
mhm,
And and then just the other thing that I've done that has made a big difference, I believe in community outreach. Connect your event to something that you care about.
mm,
We give 2 annual scholarships, educational scholarships, one to a single mom of a special needs child, and the other to a graduating high school senior. And that has helped as well to dig in and to make sure that I am serving my community well through giving scholarships. And so those are some things that I would definitely say to anyone who is thinking about having live events.
I like that. So, which does the live event feed your community, or does your community feed the live event, or do they both do both?
I believe that they both do both.
Okay.
The community, so much so. I had someone ask the other day because we are almost at 200, maybe over 200 in person, and we have virtual. And the question was, how do you get that that many people to come to your event? And actually, we've had up to in the past 300. And so you serve well. You serve well. Others tell the message. And then those women who are taking their stories to the stage, they're inviting their family, their friends, their coworkers to come and support them. And so we are serving the community. But I say serving the community, John, we have women who are coming from California, from Florida, from Illinois, from Louisiana. They're coming from all areas to attend, and we're super excited.
And you host this in Texas, right? In the
It is
Dallas
it
area?
is correct. It is hosted in Texas. We are looking at taking it on the road. We've done that before. Prior pandemic, we took it to Oregon. In 2012, I was blessed to be able to stand at a church in Paris, France, and share about the powerful journey there. And now we are looking at taking it to Florida. One of the women is looking to host it with us. And so we are looking to pick this conference up and take it from state to state and to different churches, women's organizations. We're taking it on the road.
I love it. I love it. Very cool. The one of the things, as I hear you describe what you're doing, I always try and dissect why it works so well for you. And when I see somebody succeeding at a high level like you are, there are clues that I think we're supposed to pick up on. I think there's a couple clues that you give me that I think would be beneficial for those that are listening to us to kind of think about. One of the things I've noticed is just the way you convey vision. So you have a vision and you convey vision. You help people to see something that maybe they aren't seeing. So sometimes I think you actually believe in someone's potential before they even believe in it themselves. And something else that I see you doing, and you're illustrating it even with how you organize your live events aren't about you. Your live events are about highlighting just the wonderful things that are taking place or the stories that the people you're serving are trying to tell. And I think that's a big part of why what you're doing really meets a need and why it's succeeding, because you stay focused on others. I think sometimes I see people over focus on themselves or what they want or what they perceive their needs to be or how they want something to be built out or whatever it may be. And I see you building your entire platform on serving others and highlighting their stories. And you could see that even in how you've structured your live event.
Absolutely, John. And I'll take it a bit further. The women who are standing on stage to tell their stories, I tell them, once you stand up there, it's no longer about you. So it is about that woman who is sitting in the audience, who thinks she's the only one that's going through whatever it is that she's going through. And so when you're standing there, it's not about you anymore. It's about that person who needs to hear your story. And I have testimonial after testimonial after testimonial of women who were in the audience that were moved to action because of a woman that stood on stage. There was one that comes to mind immediately where she was in an abusive marriage, so much so that her children were afraid that she would be killed. And the woman standing on stage shared her triumphant story of getting out of such a relationship. This woman had come from another state. John, she went back home and she got out of that abusive marriage and she is now thriving. And so that's what our stories do for others.
You're encouraging people to make it so you're modeling making it not about yourself, and then you're giving them the spotlight and saying, now you have the spotlight, make it not about you as well.
Correct.
I love that. That's a great way to structure this. So now I'm wondering, as we finish up here and prepare to take some Q&A from our members, and I know they're going to have lots of questions for you. I wonder what's next for you. What's next for you personally, for your platform? What's your ongoing vision for what comes next?
As I mentioned, we are about to start taking it on the road again.
Mm-hmm.
I see national facilitators doing this. I see powerful journey being across the nation and women who have been certified to facilitate it, that's what they are doing now. And my goal, John, is to help 100,000 women tell their stories. And what better way than to have it in other states and even countries where women are being free to tell their stories.
I love that. That's a great goal. A lot of people being helped already and a lot of people still to be helped. And I think that's fantastic. So if somebody's listening right now and they think, this sounds particularly helpful and they want to find out more about what you're doing or even reach out to you personally, what's the best place for them to do so?
The best place is to go to my website, which is phyllisjenkins.com. That's PhyllisJenkins.com. and just scroll around and look at the videos and the different programs that we have there, and reach out to me as well personally.
I love that. So you've heard her. You've been given your marching orders. Head over to phyllisjenkins.com and check out all the wonderful things that Phyllis has over there, and reach out to her. Let her know your story. Let her know some of the things that you're facing, going through, and learning. And she's a great person to know, and certainly someone that I am so blessed to have you as part of our members club here. I'm just grateful that you're part of Platform Launchers. So many of us take inspiration from the things that you're doing, Phyllis. And thank you so much for carving out some time to share your wisdom with us this month as our guest expert for the month.
I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you, John.